My two big problems with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But before we get into the video, I beat Persona 5 this week and Banner Saga 3 this week. So that's a total of 4 games so far that are ready to be reviewed. Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Persona 5, and Banner Saga 3. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do them all. Just know that the reviews are coming after this video this week. So for right now, we're going to do Assassin's Creed Valhalla, my two biggest problems. And I want you to let me know what you think about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Definitely tell me, though, if you've played more than half of the Assassin's Creed games. There are a shit ton. I myself have missed only 3, and those 3 being the PSP ports that they did, the Russian one, the China one, and I'm forgetting the other one. Those are the only ones I didn't play. In fact, the guy at GameStop told me not to buy them. Shocking. He said they're trash. That was an employee at a GameStop. I do have the big problems with Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now, and you know, these are my major 2.
Yo, it's the GrownKID Talk Show. Yo, it's the GrownKID Talk Show. Yo, GrownKID Talk Show. Yo, it's the GrownKID Talk Show.
So as you know, before I give my opinions on videos, I really do like to look up at least one article. So what kind of spurred this video was this article by Ethan. Gosh, everything we learned about Assassin's Creed Valhalla after playing it. This is a little dated, 7/12/20. So let's go over some of the things in Assassin's Creed Valhalla before I get to my 2 big reasons. The article goes on to talk about the state of affairs at Ubisoft, and many others have stepped down from their roles at Ubisoft amid allegations of systemic misconduct at the company, including most recently Serge Hassut, previously the company's star chief creative officer responsible for overseeing the evolution of all of its franchises, as well as Yannis Mallet, previously the head of Ubisoft's Canadian studios, including the Quebec office, which is leading development on Valhalla. It's never a good sign, as this article also points out, when the heads of companies leave. However, when there is misconduct, I'm all for it, and I don't believe that Serge Hassut was doing a great job at overseeing all of the franchises. I think that's too big of a task for just one person, and I think that is shown in ways they've taken the Assassin's Creed franchise, the way they've taken the Watch Dogs franchise, and how that's just kind of changed entirely also. So I don't think that person was doing a great job, and you never want to hear about misconduct at the company. So it is good that they're making these changes. However, when you're cutting a chief officer for the development of your new game before the game is released and there's problems have been brewing, well, you can see how that could affect the game itself. The article goes on to talk about how the insta-kill is kind of back. I hate that they call this an insta-kill type of thing. They don't need to explicitly ever say that. This is Assassin's Creed after all. But you can't necessarily always insta-kill a boss. Just talking about how they've brought back that assassination feel in their Viking game. So many people also criticize the RPG elements. I myself did have a hard time in Origins. However, like you will hear me say later on, I did give Origins a huge pass on those elements, even though I disliked a lot of what they did in that game, because it was an origin story to the Assassins and the Templars. I liked that a lot because I'm a big story type of guy. So character levels are gone, sort of, and in their place is power. This power system is very reminiscent of like God of War's power system, or games that have a slight touch of RPG elements but don't go too overboard. I like that element a lot, and that I like my character to get stronger with what they have for the most part for most of the game. So I do like the level up kind of idea. One of the more interesting mechanics is health regeneration is based around food rations. Valhalla's world is full of food to hunt and forage, and you can eat it to regain your health. Now, while this is interesting, do I want this in my Assassin's Creed game? I would say yes, if I thought Assassin's Creed Valhalla was gonna return to more of the roots of Assassin's Creed and really get that Assassin's feel, like an assassin out in the woods and they have the target that they have to scope out for a few days and they have to catch food to eat or they'll die because that's their mission. This Valhalla, to me, is going to seem really tacked on and could potentially be very tedious given the size and scope of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and what they're doing and just mushing on all these other elements and everything. It's just put it in, put it all in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think even though the base idea of this could have been really, well executed in a real Assassin's Creed game. I don't want to stay fully negative. I love Assassin's Creed. That you will hear that later. There's a charisma stat. At one point during this player's demo, they had to deliver a speech to help rally the troops for a castle siege. I don't like the siege ideas in my Assassin's Creed. You could call me a conservative or a purist. I just don't think it belongs in my Assassin's Creed game. They've done this type of thing before. Odyssey was a fucking siege, and it was pointless to do those sieges. I like the charisma stat though. Again, that's a really dope idea. That food idea. Imagine you're an assassin and you have to use your social skills in your environment to get closer to your target. That's an awesome idea. However, again, this could end up being either very pointless like the sieges were in Odyssey, or it could just feel as if this is just another aspect from another game they're pulling in to put into our Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I don't know if there's a place for this in this Viking game other than, as this person puts it, rallying the troops. I'm an assassin, fuck my troops, I don't need them. I don't need anybody. All I need is my hidden blade, that's it. You can swap back and forth between male and female versions of Eivor. This is one of my big problems. I'm going to cover it after we talk about this kind of breakdown of the game itself, but we will be bringing this back up. But for now, know that you're just going to be able to swap between this character who has the same name as a male and female. Nothing wrong with that. I'm all cool for being able to play as a woman or play as a man. However, you will hear later that this is a huge problem for Assassin's Creed. And of course, like with our reviews that I do, we talk about how the person kind of feels about the game. So modern Ubisoft games, Assassin's Creed included, can feel like glorified checklists. But Valhalla's unchecked boxes were ones my mind kept turning back to. While nothing in the demo completely wowed me, I'm still eager to tick off more of those boxes when the game comes to current and next-gen consoles later this year. So our writer definitely enjoyed his time in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. However, nothing wowed me. I never want to really hear that with a game I want to play that is supposed to be AAA, that is supposed to be advancing a story. Nothing wowed the person. You got the idea that this is just another game that they made with no heart and soul in it. You have to remember, a reviewer, especially someone who gets review copies, is obviously intrinsically motivated because they have something that not everybody else has. While the criticism might be valid, this is not what the franchise needed. It needed a total facelift. It needed to regain its identity, in my opinion. And I don't think Valhalla is going to do that. And if anything, it's really detracting from Assassin's Creed. So let's get to my major problems. It's a shame that I even have to really talk about this reason in my Assassin's Creed game. I think they may have forgotten that the game is called Assassin's Creed. For those that don't know, and this might go for those people over at Ubisoft, whatever. What is an assassin? A simple Google search will tell you. It's a murder of an important person in a surprise attack for political or religious reasons. The first 3 games of Assassin's Creed literally took this definition and made it into a game. That was the beautiful part of it. There wasn't no meandering around, killing this guy to this guy to this guy. Fucking, they got to the point. They needed to kill a political figure or religious person for religious reasons, whatever, because it was important to assassinate. That is why you have an assassin. It is inherently their job as an assassin to kill someone important. Obviously, in a video game, you have to kill some other people. I understand that. I want to kill more important people in my Assassin's Creed games than less unimportant people. I don't want to be some almighty god. I want to get in, do the job, and get the fuck out. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a hater of Assassin's Creed. I fucking love Assassin's Creed. Don't mind him, he's missing a leg. Kinda sucks. He was hiding over there above my shelf with all my other figures and books and shit. I got art books. I got the freaking box set. You know how much this was for the PlayStation 3? Like, they just tossed that out the window. Old Assassin's Creed games for the PS3 and shit. I am an Assassin's Creed fan, and so I love Assassin's Creed. I love it. I don't like that they just discontinued the idea for a movie. The movie was whatever. It's just that keep it going, man. This Assassin's Creed stuff can really take off. If they gave up with Iron Man the first time, or they gave up with Captain America, if they gave up with characters, Captain Marvel, getting another movie, if you give up on it, you're just telling the fans you don't care about it, so then you're making something that's not good. That's a whole nother issue. That is what an assassin is. That's what was the beauty of this game. So let's check out what a Viking is. And more so, how did the Vikings used to fight? Viking warriors fought using long swords and axes. Neither one of those fucking weapons an assassin would really need to use. A good sword was handed down from father to son, but Vikings also buried weapons with their owner when he died. Vikings did not wear much armor. Some chieftains wore chainmail coats, but most relied on a round wooden shield for protection. Let's look at a different history about Vikings. Any of the Scandinavian seafaring pirates and traders who raided and settled in many parts of northwestern Europe in the 8th, 11th centuries. We're in the 8th and 11th century. I don't know about you, but when Assassin's Creed made Origins, which was so underrated, I think, and I'm gonna say it, got hated on because the main character wasn't a white person, though this is when they decided to take the game in a completely direction that I can't stand, this mythical creature type of thing, and these crazy RPG elements. We're going back in times. They made a game called Origins, and then they made a game called Odyssey, which is actually a prequel to Origins, or somewhat stand side-ish or whatever. I don't fucking know, but all we know is that the Vikings is still now going back in time, whereas progressively the Assassin's Creed games were advancing the timeline. For some reason we've stagnated either to going to the past or staying in this 8th to 11th century range, so to speak. But a Viking is a pirate and a trader. I don't need to say this, though it's 2020 and everybody wants to be fucking PC. Can anybody name a female pirate? I think there's one, and I'm forgetting her fucking name, who was very famous and shit. But most pirates are fucking men. Look at any video game ever. Look at any fucking book. Look at anything. Everything can tell you that pirates and Vikings were predominantly men. Why? That is a problem for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I will get to in the next part of my problem. But for now, the problem is Assassin's Creed Valhalla has totally lost the identity to which is an Assassin's Creed game. What do Vikings and Assassins have in common? Nothing. So when you diminish your own game's title and lore and everything, yes, I have a huge problem with that. This is a huge problem for Assassin's Creed fans. How can the series have gone from being about assassinations to Viking pillaging? And the same problem existed in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There was not really a mention of assassins and Templars. And I like the idea that they established a lore between assassins and Templars. You can go tell that origin story, which you did with Origins, and found the root of what would then become Templars, what would then become Assassins. I liked that. That was good. That's why I'm saying Origins is actually better in terms of Assassin's Creed game than Odyssey ever could hope to be. However, they've gone the Odyssey route with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I'm fucking disappointed. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is just Ubisoft's way of saying, I'm afraid to make an original IP because I don't believe anyone will buy my game. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is for only the hardest of hardcore Assassin's Creed fans, and we're buying the game out of fucking guilt. Yes, I'm buying the game. Why? Because I'm a fucking Assassin's Creed fan, and I just take it up the fucking ass when Ubisoft gives me an Assassin's Creed game, because I hold out hope every fucking time that they will focus on the animus and the current world, and the shit could actually progress. And I'm in the minority. Most people say that they hate the animus shit. To me, that's the best part of the fucking game. For that, I'll just go play a Viking game, God of War, which isn't really a Viking game, but it has better Scandinavian lore than this game could ever hope to dream of. That is my first problem with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I have hinted at the second problem. And no, before you start putting words in my mouth, it is not because there are women in the game and they're Vikings. No. Assassin's Creed Valhalla has no narrative focus. And let me explain, because you might have been thinking that I'm sexist, that I don't like the woman in the Viking game, and I was talking about, women weren't pirates or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I was just adding a little bit of fuel to that fire to get you thinking about the lack of narrative direction in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I'm not going to necessarily bring up tons of articles about this. I'm just going to simply show you that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Cassandra is better than Alexios. She's Smarter and Funnier by Colin Campbell. This is a true statement. When I popped in Odyssey, you're given the choice to play between two different characters, a male and a female. No problem. I picked Cassandra. I'm glad I did, because from what I hear, she was the better choice. Her voice actor was better. She was just better. And that's okay, right? I want to bring up the argument where every game kind of needed multiplayer. Well, from the 2013 to 2000 now range, it seems like every game is now supposed to be, you can either have a male or female character. That is not how narrative, let me rephrase it. That is not how good narrative often achieves a level of greatness. Imagine if Kratos was Kratos. A good story is able to lay out certain elements, and the main character being a male or a female or androgynous, whatever you fucking want to do, pick that and stand by it. Assassin's Creed now has run into a major problem in that it doesn't even know if it wants to focus on tell a male story or a female story. And if you think that they're interchangeable, you are highly mistaken. Games can do this, and games have done this well, where you can pick your sexes and choices. Cyberpunk 2077 will probably be the best game to ever do that kind of mechanic for a game. And yes, again, I know it is a video game. I know it's fantasy disbelief, and giving players choice is always great. But I've said this before, is that choice always great? Will you sacrifice narrative storytelling for choice? I never will do that. I'd rather have less choice and a better narrative than the other way around. So I use this example of Cassandra as being better than Alexios because it bleeds right into Assassin's Creed Valhalla's biggest problem. It has no clue what the fuck it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be an assassin game or a Viking game. And it doesn't even know if it should be a male or female lead. So if you recall this blurb from our article, you could swap back and forth between the male and female versions of Ivor, seemingly at will. I played most of the demo as the female Ivor. Toward the end of my session, I noticed an option to press up on the D-pad while toggling between menus. Doing so let me interface with the Animus and start playing as the male Ivor moments later. Complete with new animations and a different voice, the whole thing was seamless, at least in the demo. We have an almighty tool in the Animus, and it does allow for some play to happen. Not play like go outside and play catch, but play as in an artistic form of play. I like that. Cool, we can play with that a little bit. No pun intended there, or pun intended. But the idea that I could switch midway through the game and play as a female character, and the choices I make or anything I do can just transition over to this character, means that the story itself is going to be inherently shallow. Now, I understand they say seamless here as in the actual mechanic of doing. They don't talk about seamless as in transition with the story. I'm focused on the story. How are you going to explain to me or make sense that I can play as a man for half a mission, switch to a woman, I make choices as a man? Do those choices have consequences as a man? Do those choices have consequences as a female? I love my female leads. Horizon, great green, female lead. Odyssey, Cassandra, great female lead. Last of Us, well, didn't have any great female leads, but regardless, I love a great story told from the perspective of a woman, and I love a great story from the perspective of a man. I just want you to choose. I don't want you to give me the choice as if it's something I actually want. That is my biggest problem with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I want you to let me know, do you think having the choice to play as a male or female and then being able to switch that any time, is that some kind of smart metaphor for life now? How the media seems to want everyone to be gender fluid and the game is now allowing you to do that? Or is it just really a lack of direction from Ubisoft as a whole, and they don't know what to do with their Assassin's Creed franchise, and they're just scared to make a new IP? I need you to let me know, because I can't be the only one feeling like I can play as a woman, as a man, and the woman, and then I can switch, and then what's the point of the choices I make? If the man sleeps with a woman, like you could do in Odyssey, and then I switch to a woman, well, what if I want my woman to be a straight woman, or I want my guy to be a gay guy, and then I go switch characters? Do you see how this could just be a jumbled fucking mess? Pick your narrative, tell the story. And I hate to say this, take a note from Neil Druckmann. He wrote a shitty story. He doesn't own up to the shitty story. However, he does stick by the idea of telling his story. The most credit I can give him is he told his story. Assassin's Creed Valhalla does not sound like it really is telling a story worth listening to. So as you know, on this show, I also like to think of reasons why certain things might be happening. So I had to, while I was editing this video, found out about Hyperscape. I had heard about it, forgot entirely, and then realized it was made by Ubisoft. Hyperscape is very much like an Apex competitor. Ironically, it borrows a lot of inspiration from the Animus idea from Assassin's Creed, so I thought it fit the topic well. The game is okay. One problem I have, the characters seem small and the world seems so big, whereas I think Apex really handles the ratio of character size and environment really well. This game obviously does, other things, double jumps and tons of abilities. You kind of like create your own champion with abilities you find in the game. It's conceptually kind of cool. So Hyperscape might be the reason why Ubisoft took away much needed resources from its AAA titles, put it into this free-to-play game, which again, free-to-play is cool, but free-to-play does not mean you cannot criticize it just because it's free-to-play. That's not how, critiques work. Even though it's free-to-play, there are people who do put money into the game and continually put money on the game and actually could make a free-to-play even more profitable than a AAA title at full price. So Hyperscape is still up for criticism. I'm whatever on the game. I just downloaded it last night, played a match or two. It's cool. I'm gonna see how it is with friends. I always like playing solo, so I thought I'd bring this up as a reason potentially why resources were taken away from Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the delay to possibly Watch Dogs Legion. Apparently both those games are going to be coming on the PS5 as well. Totally missable. Definitely PS4 titles. Graphically, Hyperscape is okay as well. The opening cutscene and the lore of the world, again, borrows really heavily from Assassin's Creed, so I liked making that connection even though it may not necessarily exist. So Hyperscape, let me know if you've checked this out. Do you think that this could be a possible reason? I'm the GrownKID. I hope you liked the video. I know it was long. I know I rambled. I know I ranted a little bit. I'll catch you back in another video.
Yo, it's the GrownKID Talk Show.